Dressed as a peasant woman with 3 children, my husband is clamoring to split up. Shen Qingyu waved his hand and said, harmony and separation, I want children. Lose weight, become beautiful, and earn money. Internal competition, we are serious. Oh, how could you become the richest person in the 5 countries if you were not careful? De Bao. Who wants to cheat my mother's money? I'll kill him. Bao. Who dares to bully my mother? I'll ask Xianggong to kill him. Sanbao. Who dares to bully our family? I asked the animal army to eat him. Keywords of the novel. Carrying space through the barren years, rolling up to become the wealthiest person in the 5 countries without a pop-up window, carrying space through the barren years, rolling up to become the richest person in the 5 countries with a child. Download the complete TXT collection, Carrying Space Through the Barren Years, Rolling Up to Become the Richest Person in the 5 Countries with a Child. Latest chapters for reading. Chapter 1. Rural women and 3 children are a bit poor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Rural women and 3 children are a bit poor, bang. In the thatched cottage, the hemp rope hanging on the beam is unbearable and breaks directly. The woman on the rope fell onto a strong man, feeling her neck and coughing wildly, finally gasping for breath. Looking down at the muscular man beneath him, he fell into a daze. Didn't she save 3 children on her way home to visit and then die in a flood? Why is she now a strong woman who failed to hang herself? Who is this man? After a burst of swelling and pain in her brain, Shen Qingyu froze. She traveled through time, and the original owner had the same name, surname, or even age as herself, also known as Shen Qingyu. She had 3 children, who were triplets. The father of the child is the meat cushion under him. Xianggong. Step up to the sky, be a mother without pain, have children and men. Is this an inappropriate winner in life? Shen Qingyu glanced at Xianggong's face and pursed his lips in disgust. He has handsome facial features, thick eyebrows and a high nose, with sharp edges and corners, but his forehead is completely black, like a mouthful of black pot, and he is also too ugly. The original owner's vision is also too bad, I hope those 3 children don't inherit him. As soon as Xianggong opened his eyes, he saw Shen Qingyu's expression of disdain on his face. Without leaving a trace, he quickly glanced at Shen Qingyu and confirmed that she was safe. His face turned cold and he said, "Can you come down now?" Shen Qingyu glanced at the meat mat under his body and quickly got up. Damn it! What's so fierce? Shen Qingyu murmured softly, so ugly, who cares? Xianggong's face turned even darker and he said, I don't think I'm good enough for you. You can leave with me. After finishing speaking, Xianggong strode away with a meteor and didn't forget to remind him, take a basin of water and see what you look like. What do you mean? Shen Qingyu stomped her feet. After a moment, she looked at her face in the basin and fell into contemplation. What did the original owner do in his previous life? She was fat and black, with rough skin. What she couldn't bear the most was that her face was covered in acne, her huge face was piled up with a lot of horizontal flesh, her facial features were deformed, and she couldn't even tell she was a woman. Looking down, there were 3 layers of flesh around the waist, and each touch and pinch. It's all fat, not pregnancy. Well, how could Xianggong say anything? Shen Qingyu shed tears of sadness. Before crossing the river, she was at least a flower in the military. She had all her body and appearance, and could be called a beauty. No, it's necessary to lose weight. Shen Qingyu's eyes were misty with tears as 3 little dolls ran in from outside the yard. Mom, what's wrong with you? Did Dad bully you? Xiaobao, go beat him up. Mom, don't cry, Bao is shouting for you. Maybe you're hungry. Just now we saw Dad go out to buy food. Mom, please hold on. Tears were wiped away by the children, and Shen Qingyu also saw the faces of the 3 children in front of her, and her mouth grew up in shock. This face. How is it exactly the same as the child saved in a previous life? How could this be? Coincidence? I can't figure it out. Forget it, the CPU can't handle the load. Looking at Shen Qingyu, who was stunned, de Bao Xiao Ruoyi let out a long sigh. Mom, you must be starving. I'll go check if there's anything to eat in the kitchen. The one with 2 braids is de Bao Xiao Ruoyi. Only 2 contractors, Xiao Ruoyu, nodded repeatedly and said, Dad bought something to eat so slowly. Mom is almost starving. The old hen in the corner of the wall called out a few times. Xiao Ruoshan ran out and said, Dad must have come back. I'll go find something to eat. Xiao Yinchi has indeed returned. As soon as I ran into the kitchen, I saw de Bao holding an oiled paper bag with several plump white buns inside, emitting a tempting aroma. The children swallowed their saliva as they smelled the fragrance. How fragrant! De Bao suppressed his greed and closed his eyes, handing the oil paper package to Shen Qingyu. Mom, eat Baozi quickly. Dad bought it back. Yes. After eating steamed buns, my mother's mood will improve. Don't cry. Shen Qingyu looked at the steamed bun and wanted to refuse. Before crossing the border, she was a military doctor and ate it all at once, feeling nauseous. But this body is crazily clamoring to eat. The original body is truly greedy. Shen Qingyu no longer acted affectedly, took the oiled paper bag, stuffed one for each of the 3 children, picked up a bun himself, and ate half of it in one gulp. This bun is made of semi-fat and lean meat, mixed with some scallions in a greasy sauce. It smells so delicious. It's just lacking onion and ginger juice, it's a bit fishy. She took 3 bites of the whole steamed bun, still unsatisfied with a smack, just about to pick up the second one. Gudu. The sound of swallowing saliva rang out. Bao whispered, Mom, is Baozi delicious? It's delicious. What are you foolishly making? Eat it quickly. What flavor is it? Bao asked again. Even if Shen Qingyu was slow, he understood and felt a surge of guilt. Of course you have to taste it before you know what flavor it is. You can try it. No, her throat hurts so much that tears come out when she speaks. Bao watched her cry, and the bun was put down again. My mother clearly couldn't bear to part with it, and tears welled up in her heart. De Bao waved his hand firmly and said, Mom, we're not hungry. You can eat. Once you're full, your mood will be better. Upon hearing the elder sister's words, Bao quickly waved his hand and agreed, Yes, Mom, we're not hungry. You can eat. We've already had dinner just now. What did the original owner do in his previous life, making the child so afraid of her? When my brain hurts, I have some more memories. The original owner had a great appetite and was very greedy. If he didn't eat enough in time, he would be in a bad mood and scold chickens and dogs. Children will also be beaten and scolded to vent their anger. So the 3 children are very observant and cautious in their actions. Shen Qingyu has a sour heart and hair, which is not very pleasant. You eat, look at you skinny, I'm going to the kitchen to make some food. If I come out and find that you haven't eaten it, I'll be angry. As Shen Qingyu entered the kitchen, Bao whispered, Sister. Do you want to eat? Eat. If you don't eat, you'll get beaten. De Bao took the lead in taking a bite. With the sister's sample, Bao and his younger brother quickly took a bite of the steamed bun. Woo-woo. It's so fragrant. No wonder my mother was clamoring to eat the town's meat buns before. It turns out that the meat buns are so delicious. Shen Qingyu looked at the simple kitchen and rummaged through only half a bowl of rice, a bowl of black noodles, an egg, 3 radishes, and a meager amount of meat. I'm really poor. The female lead is dumbfounded, forget it, make do with it. 2 firewood stoves light a fire at the same time, and water and rice are put here to cook porridge. Pour oil directly over there. Cut the radish into shreds and add salt, squeeze out the water and chop it into small pieces. Chop pork and mix with black noodles, beat eggs inside. Next, crush the salt and radish inside, stir well and knead into a ball. After trying the oil temperature, start frying the radish balls. With a sizzling sound, the room was filled with the fragrance of meatballs. Shen Qingyu was about to call out a few little guys to come over for dinner when he heard Xiaobao's surprised voice. "Mom, Dad has bought a lot of rice, noodles, and meat again." "Alright, bring it in." "Have you eaten the steamed buns?" "If you haven't eaten them, I'll be angry." Shen Qingyu replied and didn't go out. She needs to look at the pot when frying the meatballs on her side, and she needs to add new ones while scooping them out. The rhythm should not be chaotic, otherwise it will burn the pot. "We ate." "Mom, what are you doing?" The Bao's voice was shocked. Shen Qingyu turned her head and met 4 pairs of ghostly eyes. "Qin Ji has opened a new book. New and old friends, remember to bookmark, recommend, and comment 3 times. Old friends all know that our pit products are top-notch, with stable updates and occasional explosions." End of this chapter. Chapter 2. A scumbag's husband wants to leave. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2. A scumbag's mutual interest and separation. I'm frying balls, frying some radish balls, and cooking congee. It will be ready soon. Shen Qingyu pointed to meatballs and congee. She didn't expect that such a little thing could explode into a large basket. The 4 people's faces changed and remained silent. "We saw you frying meatballs. But the problem is, how could you fry such delicious balls? This is unprecedented." Shen Qingyu's mind was filled with some memory fragments, causing an instant of embarrassment. Original cooking involves simply cooking and ignoring the taste. Oh no, sometimes it's not cooked yet, sometimes it's burnt again. After 2 seconds, she scratched her head and forcefully explained, "Well, I won't be fooling around anymore. Father and son." Black pot brother Xiao Yinchi looked at Shen Qingyu inexplicably and said, "That's good, let's eat." De Bao hurried forward and ran out happily with the fried radish balls. Here Xiao Yinchi took out the congee and followed him to the main room. "Ah! My meatballs!" Just now, Shen Qingyu was stunned and forgot that there were still the last 4 meatballs in the pot. He pulled them out and saw that they were fried. Xiao Yinchi placed the battered meatballs in front of him and said, "Let's eat." There are only 4 bowls with notches on the table, and there are no bowls in front of Xiao Yinchi. "Use my bowl." Shen Qingyu reluctantly pushed her own over. "No need." Xiao Yinchi calmly pushed back. Shen Qingyu was about to thank him when he saw Xiao Yinchi divide the gruel, and then, start eating with the congee bowl. Shen Qingyu. Memory fragments resurface. The original owner and Xiao Yinchi got married less than a month ago, and he went out. When Xiao Yinchi returned 3 years later, he was already a father and all 3 of his children were over 2 years old. Watching the chickens and dogs jumping and the children crying at home, coupled with the original owner being ugly, fat, and cursing, Xiao Yinchi left again in less than a month. Now this is my 2nd time back. There are only 5 bowls at home, but I broke one before. So Xiao Yinchi could only use basin. The 3 children watched as Xiao Yinchi ate the sticky meatballs with an unusual fragrance, and unconsciously swallowed saliva. "Why don't you eat? Don't tell me you're full with just 1 bun." De Bao quickly picked up the meatballs and put them in his mouth at that moment. Fragrant. My eyes immediately widened. The meatball is crisp outside and tender inside. The natural sweetness of radish and the meat smell make it delicious. De Bao chewed it in 2 bites and immediately stuffed it into Xiao Bao's mouth, saying, "Eat it quickly." This one made by my mother is even more fragrant than meat buns. De Bao was the most disciplined person in the family, but at this moment he wolfed down the food, startling everyone. The next second, the 2 treasures and 3 treasures also showed the same shocked expression. This smell. It's amazing. Dad, please eat more. You haven't been home for a long time, and there must be no delicious food cooked by your mother outside. Bao smiled pleasantly and affectionately. De Bao also had an irresistible admiration in his eyes. Good, good. You guys eat too. Xianggong nodded in response and gave Shen Qingyu and the children a meatball. Looking at the meatballs in his bowl, Shen Qingyu finally realized. He actually served himself some food. The 3 children also gave Shen Qingyu radish meatballs one after another, saying, "Mom, you too." Shen Qingyu looked at the father and son and a dry smile came out from the corner of his mouth. Let's eat. So the people started the cooking mode. Chopsticks fell like rain, and the turnip meatballs were soon bottomed out. Except Shen Qingyu, who deliberately cut down on food, the whole family burped. 3 children were full of food and drink, but Xianggong looked at her with a curious gaze and said, "Why are you suddenly changed?" Shen Qingyu glanced at him and said, "What's wrong? It's not delicious. So tomorrow, I'll cook the noodles for you." The father and son all looked dumbfounded and said, "It's not necessary." De Bao had the vision to see his son, so he pulled his younger brother and sister out and said, "Little brother, go feed the chickens and dogs, Bao go wash his clothes, and I'll go pull the pig grass." There were only Shen Qingyu and Xianggong left in the room, both of whom remained silent. Shen Qingyu felt strange in his heart. What should I say? After a moment of silence, Xianggong spoke up first, "Do you want to leave? Pick up the bowl to eat, put down the bowl and leave." Scumbag, Shen Qingyu sneered. "Sure, but it's up to me to talk about this matter. Anyway, in the past 7 years, you haven't been at home for more than 2 months in total, and it doesn't matter if your child has a father like you. Li, bring the clan leader over tomorrow. The child belongs to me, and you have no right to own it." Xianggong snorted coldly, "Okay, just don't hang your neck again." Previously, the reason why Shen Qingyu hung his neck was because Xianggong said he wanted to separate, and Shen Qingyu couldn't bear to think about it. That's why he hung his southeast branch and wanted to regret Xianggong's death. Do you not love yourself and expect men to love you? The original body is really stupid. Bah. Just die once is enough. Don't worry, I won't die again if you die. Shen Qingyu stood up decisively and walked out of the room. Xianggong watched as Shen Qingyu ignored him and walked out of the yard with a hoe. After hesitating for a while, he finally picked up another hoe and followed him out. "I haven't left yet, the ground still needs to be dug. Just a few days after the Chinese New Year, it's not yet time to sow, but hard-working families have already started preparing the ground. This way, when the spring sowing comes, there won't be so much panic." Xianggong watched as Shen Qingyu skillfully dug the ground and occasionally smashed the soil and debris, clearing weeds and piling them together. To be honest, Xianggong was surprised. After all, in his impression, Shen Qingyu has always been lazy. How did she change? Is it because of taking care of 3 children alone? After regaining his senses, Xianggong learned from Shen Qingyu and began to work. He went from being unfamiliar to proficient, and his progress also went from slow to fast. By the time the sun set, his progress had already surpassed that of Shen Qingyu. "It's getting dark, come back tomorrow." As it was getting late, Xianggong took the initiative to speak and took Shen Qingyu's hoe with him. Shen Qingyu. Walking on the field ridge, the two met their relative Shen Sanshu and his son Head. On. Uncle Shen looked at Xianggong's dark forehead and recognized him at a glance. "Oh. Yunqi has returned. I haven't seen you for several years." The young man Shen Man's Ho, who was fighting against the plow behind, said, "Brother Tai Tu, when will you go out and make a fortune? Take me with you." Shen Qingyu lowered her head and suppressed a smile. "Ironhead brother. Quite appropriate." Xiao Yinqi glanced at Shen Qingyu beside him and said, "For now. I won't go out." "Ah. How much money can you get from digging the ground at home?" Shen Manshou's expression instantly looked contemptuous. Uncle Shen glared at his son and said, "It's good to be at home. Qingyu can also relax a bit." Xiao Yinqi looked at Shen Qingyu next to him without saying a word. Shen Qingyu's gaze was startled by a patch of wild vegetables next to him. This is the strong bone grass. Zhuanggu grass is a herbal medicine that can strengthen the body, especially for 3 children who are thin, weak, and malnourished. It is an excellent nourishing herb. Pull it back. We must pull it back. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. Sleep is a big problem. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 3. Sleep is a big problem. Shen Qingyu quickly said goodbye. "Third uncle, I'll go pick some wild vegetables. I'll go see you and third auntie later." Unexpectedly, as soon as he grabbed a tree, he let out a scream of surprise and punctured his hand. Shen Qingyu's mind roared as he entered a valley. Is this space? Time traveler's golden finger. At my feet is a freshly pulled strong bone grass, and in front of me is a large warehouse. The left corner of the warehouse is filled with various things, which can be compared to a supermarket. The shelves on the right are all empty. Super Space 08 is open, host Shen Qingyu, with a 10% reserve of supplies. The mechanical female voice rang out. Without waiting for her to study, Xiao Yinqi's displeased voice had already arrived. Are you still going or not? Shen Qingyu regained his senses and realized that there was still a large area of strong bone grass in front of him, except for the one that had pierced him in the beginning. Here we go. Shen Qingyu suppressed curiosity and excitement, dug up some strong bone grass, and quickly walked home. Back home, it was already dark. The yellow dog barked twice and wagged its tail to greet it. Mom and Dad are back. Xiao Bao's voice came from the stove. Shen Qingyu went to the stove and saw the second and third people burning a fire. De Bao stood on the bench, pouring rice bran into a large iron pot, preparing to mix pig grass. Mother, the clothes are washed and hung under the eaves. Bao's eyebrows and eyes curved. Mother, the chickens and ducks have been fed and put in the cage. The little brother smiled sweetly. Mom, help me stir it up and you can feed the pigs, De Bao said calmly. Okay. Thanks to you guys for these little things at home, you guys are amazing. Mom will cook delicious food for you later. Shen Qingyu quickly praised him and casually lifted the strong bone grass in his hand. Children are so sensible. If it were in the 21st century, it would be great if they didn't cause trouble at this age. Mom, is this wild vegetable? How can it be made delicious? Xiao Bao paid attention to the food. Shen Qingyu rolled up her sleeves and said, I'll know soon. You guys go rest. Oh. The children left the stove. Xiao Yinqi took the initiative to take over the fire. Burn a small stove, it's time to cook, Shen Qingyu kept his hands on and ordered. Oh. Xiao Yinqi was familiar with lighting a fire, but his eyes were curious as he looked at Shen Qingyu's sharp movements. On the other side of the big pot, the rice bran should be cooked for a while, then the pig grass should be poured and stirred. Once it cools down, it can be fed to the pigs. A small pot for stewing rice and a pot for boiling water. Shen Qingyu deftly went to pick up the food brought back by Xiao Yinqi today. There is rice, noodles, meat, and 2 bamboo shoots with mud. Stir-fried meat with diced bamboo shoots, scrambled eggs with tomatoes, and made a meatball with zhuanggu grass, perfect. Watching Shen Qingyu only cut a small piece of meat, Xianggong frowned slightly and said, "Cut more meat. If it's not enough, I'll go buy it." Shen Qingyu looked up at the man and said, "You're quite generous. He's very wealthy." She nodded, cut half a jean of fresh meat, chopped it, added flour and eggs, and made meatballs. At this time, the water also boiled, the bone-strengthening herb was boiled into soup, the meatballs were put into boil, and salt was added. After the meat-ball soup is put in the basin, put the onion, flour and fragrant vegetable on it. It's beautiful. Let's eat now. Shen Qingyu shouted loudly. After everyone came to the table, as usual, he divided the soup and finished it before Xianggong had a bowl to eat. Xiao Bao learned from Shen Qingyu to cover the tomato scrambled egg on the rice and took a bite, his face full of amazement. "Big sister, you put it on the rice like this, eat it well." "Little brother, stir-fried pork with bamboo shoots mixed with rice is also very delicious, humph." Looking at their appearance, Shen Qingyu decided to go to the space another day to bring out the mixed rice sauce and make Korean-style mixed rice. Let children broaden their horizons. The three children were very uneasy when they saw their parents arguing in the afternoon. Unexpectedly, at night they were friendly, and my mother even made such a delicious table. Won't we argue anymore, will we? The children ate while occasionally checking their parents' faces. Shen Qingyu couldn't help but reach out his chopsticks and tap Air Bao's head, saying, "What are you looking at? Have a good meal." The second treasure of the ghost spirit let out a strange cry, put down the bowl and chopsticks, and reached out to rub his head. Little brother and Big Bao couldn't help but laugh and said, "Ha ha ha." Shen Qingyu couldn't help but grin. Xianggong saw everything in his eyes, lowered his gaze, and sighed silently. The children enjoyed themselves, but Shen Qingyu only drank a bowl of soup, ate 2 meatballs and then stopped talking. Digging the ground is equivalent to exercise, combined with eating less, you can definitely lose weight. The moon rises, it's time to wash and sleep. Shen Qingyu was worried. There were only 2 rooms and 2 beds at home. 3 children share a room, so she and Xianggong, Shen Qingyu's mother and fetus, were single, and she suddenly had children and a man, which she couldn't adapt to. The key is, men are still ugly. Fortunately, Xianggong noticed her awkwardness and said, "Why don't I go sleep with the third person and have 2 daughters sleep with you?" Shen Qingyu quickly nodded and ran to call for the 2 daughters. De Bao looked serious and said, "Mom, do you still want to leave with Dad?" Shen Qingyu paused for a moment and said, "I." De Bao. "It must be. Don't lie to me, otherwise you won't sleep separately." Where did this child know about this? Shen Qingyu widened her eyes and said, "De Bao, what are you talking nonsense about?" De Zhuang's father slept separately from his mother, and soon he divorced her. He never saw his mother again. Air Bao immediately answered the conversation. Xiao Bao quickly nodded on the side. That's it. Get it. All 3 are proficient in and proficient in the process. Shen Qingyu. Mom, don't want us, we're very good. Air Bao wiped away his tears and cried. Mother, I can't bear to part with my father, nor can I bear to part with my mother. The younger brother's tears came as he spoke. De Bao hasn't cried yet, but the accusations and grievances in his eyes are very obvious. Shen Qingyu was defeated and said, "All right, you guys sleep. We won't separate, I'll go sleep with your dad." Shen Qingyu returned with a mournful face. Xianggong heard the commotion next door and said, "I won't touch you, go to sleep." Upon hearing this, Shen Qingyu almost exploded with anger. "Thank you. The bed is not big and there is only 1 blanket, how can I sleep?" Xianggong is tall, and Shen Qingyu is also muscular. The 2 of them make a bed, and a little further away, the cold wind whizzes into their bones. At first, Shen Qingyu wanted to maintain a distance and left half of her arms and legs outside, covering them with a cotton jacket. Later on, I thought it was wrong. Why did he warm us up and keep us frozen? To freeze is to freeze that bastard. Without saying a word, Shen Qingyu rolled up the blanket and said, "Stay away from me. It's impolite to sleep in the same bed as before." Shen Qingyu sneered, confidently closed her eyes, and went to sleep. Oh, oh. The chicken crowed. Shen Qingyu stretched lazily. Wait, what's warm about? Shen Qingyu pinched it, it was warm and solid. Chest. Shen Qingyu was so scared that he crawled up, but met a pair of restrained and indifferent eyes. Damn it. Oh my God, I actually slept with that ugly guy all night. When did this guy get into his own bed? End of this chapter. Chapter 4. Triplet Group Cram Dad. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Triplet Group Cram Dad, you're shameless, why are you sneaking into my bed? Shen Qingyu lowered her voice and cursed. Do you think I'm willing? Xianggong sneered and got out of bed to get dressed. Shen Qingyu. Xianggong put on his clothes and said, "Don't worry, there won't be another time. I'm begging for it. Let's leave today." Shen Qingyu said angrily. Xianggong opened the door, but in the next moment, he stopped and his face stiffened. What are you doing here? How long have you been standing here? Xianggong asked in shock. What? Shen Qingyu rushed to the door, also dumbfounded. Outside the door, there were 3 dolls standing in rows, each wearing single clothes and their faces turning pale from the cold. It's hard to tell how long they've been standing. Dabao stubbornly pursed his lips and said, "We all heard it." Bao burst into tears and said, "Mom, what you said last night was that you didn't want to leave. You lied to me, you didn't want us anymore." Woo woo woo. The little brother cried loudly and remained silent. Xianggong and Shen Qingyu exchanged a glance, dumbfounded. After a moment. In the main room, 3 children put on cotton jackets and placed 3 bowls of brown sugar ginger tea in front of them. Shen Qingyu and Xianggong sat side by side across from them. Xianggong remained silent with a cold face. Shen Qingyu tried to reason, "Children, your father doesn't come back once in a few years, and it's the same as leaving." Xianggong said, "I will leave you enough silver to ensure that you have no worries about food and clothing." Sanwa. Keep crying. Xianggong and Shen Qingyu. The first attempt to deviate from the plan, failure. It is necessary to separate beds and bedding, as we cannot separate from each other. Xianggong was preparing to go to the town to purchase some bedding and other supplies, but before he could leave, Dabao weakly shouted in his room, "Dad. Bao and I are all hot." When Xianggong rushed over, Shen Qingyu was already checking their pulse. He was stunned and said, "Can she still check their pulse?" All 3 treasures have a fever, their lips are dry, and their faces are flushed. "Dad. Mom. Can we not leave? Bao will be obedient in the future, and I can eat less. I am very well behaved." Bao tightly grabbed one of Shen Qingyu's hands, tears welling up in his eyes. The younger brother grabbed Xianggong's pants legs and burst into tears, saying, "Dad. Don't want me, woo-woo." Dabao remained silent, but his eyes were full of fragility and prayers. The 3 children are using fate to force each other. Shen Qingyu glanced at Xianggong and found that he happened to be looking at her. "Do you still want to leave? Forget it. Just wait a little longer." After making some eye contact, Shen Qingyu spoke up, "I just discussed with your father and we won't leave." "I don't believe it. Don't believe it. You're lying to me." The 3 children immediately spoke out to refute. "Yes. My dad will run away and never come back. We will never have a dad again. Bao is too miserable." Bao said he was crying again. "We are so pitiful. Wow. The little brother wailed even harder. If it weren't for my parents' pain, I wouldn't have lived. De Bao gritted his teeth in tears. Xiao Yinqi's temples were throbbing with pain. What 3 kids are these? Did you learn to force with fate? Shen Qingyu gritted his teeth and said, you all have a fever. Your father needs to go and take medicine for you and buy some things to bring back. Dad. De Bao looked at Xiao Yinqi in confusion. Xiao Yinqi nodded with a dark face and said, you stay at home and be obedient. I'll go out and get some medicine and I'll be back soon. If you don't come back, we won't eat or drink. Yes. Don't eat or drink. Triplets have completely understood the bitter meat trick. Xiao Yinqi turned around to go out, but Shen Qingyu stopped him and said, wait a minute. I'll write a prescription for you to take medicine, and then make a list for you to buy things. Xiao Yinqi. Done. Looking at Shen Qingyu's skilled prescription, Xiao Yinqi was very puzzled and said, when did you learn medical skills? Shen Qingyu gave him a sideways glance and said, when you're not at home. Xiao Yinqi. The conversation is dead. Watching Xiao Yinqi go out, Shen Qingyu went to the kitchen. The 3 children's tears stopped and they stopped crying in an instant. Sister, is this okay? What if Dad runs away? De Bao remained calm and said, they shouldn't be separated for the time being after our commotion. Before the 3 children could finish discussing, when the light in the room dimmed, they heard Shen Qingyu's sneer. You guys are really good. They all form groups to dig holes and threaten your parents. Mother. We were wrong. Bao took the lead in confessing. Playing coquettish is useless. Shen Qingyu's voice was cold and her face was also cold. Mother, we were wrong. The younger brother hugged Shen Qingyu and acted coquettishly. What's wrong? Mother, are you blaming us for not taking care of our own bodies? De Bao reacted a bit, I'm not very old, but I have plenty of ideas. Shen Qingyu softened her tone slightly when she saw De Bao and said, nothing is more important than your life. If you don't know how to cherish yourself, no one will cherish you, including me and your father. The triplets were all startled and their eyes widened. Although I couldn't understand it, I felt that my mother was very angry. After a moment. Mother, we will definitely cherish our health in the future. Bao apologized first. The younger brother immediately followed suit. Only De Bao pursed his lips and remained silent, with a face full of words. If parents still want to separate, next time he will still be like this. Deeply aware of De Bao's stubborn nature, Shen Qingyu sighed helplessly, unable to break her temper for a short time, and could only take it slowly. Shen Qingyu walked to the bed with a bowl in hand and said, come, take your medicine. The bowl is filled with a pink potion. Ibuprofen. She was worried that Xiao Yinqi wouldn't be able to catch the medicine in time, and the children burned their brains. She wanted to go into the storage room to search, so she found the ibuprofen suspension. Mom, what is this? The color is so beautiful. Mother added sugar to the medicine, it's not bitter, drink it. The 3 children had limited knowledge and didn't think much, so they obediently took the medicine. The drug effect quickly came up, and the triplets began to sweat, causing the fever to decrease. Shen Qingyu finally calmed down and turned to cook. Fever and weakness, vegetables and lean meat congee is more suitable. Shen Qingyu quickly went to the ground to pull out a cabbage, chop the lean meat, and cook rice. When she was discharging water, she suddenly thought that there was a spring near the warehouse door of the space. Would it be better to cook porridge with that? With a movement of his mind, Shen Qingyu entered the space and tasted a sip of spring water. Sweet and refreshing. After drinking, I felt much lighter and more relaxed. Surprisingly, it's Lingquan water. I'll use you. When a large pot of vegetable and lean meat congee with fragrant smell was brought to the bedside, the 3 children woke up and would get out of bed when smelling the smell. Bao was the most anxious. Mom, what's so fragrant? I'm so hungry. Shen Qingyu closed the door and told them to change their sweaty clothes. Then they got out of bed and drank congee. 3 treasures were dressed warmly, one of them was holding a bowl of congee, and his eyes narrowed after drinking it. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Building Repair. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5 Building Repair. Mother, why is today's congee so delicious? It's so comfortable to drink it. It's warm. Bao was careful and immediately felt the difference. The slight spiciness of pepper powder paired with the fragrance of meat and vegetables, coupled with the slight sweetness of the spiritual spring of space, takes a sip and feels like my mind is not so dazed anymore. Shen Qingyu chuckled casually and said, "You are seriously ill, consuming too much, and starving." Is that so? The triplets each drank a bowl of congee, sweated slightly again, rubbed their eyes and felt sleepy. Shen Qingyu looked at them with a smile and said, "All right, let's sleep a little longer. When we wake up, we should feel much more comfortable." Not long after 3 treasures fell asleep, Xianggong returned and surprisingly rushed back with a donkey cart. Shen Qingyu looked at the skinny donkey pulling the cart in shock and said, "Why do you still buy a donkey cart back?" Xianggong tied the rope and pointed to the mountain of things piled up on the scooter, saying, "Can you give me such a long list? If I don't buy a donkey cart, I'll carry it back. Even if you have enough strength, your shoulders are not wide enough." Shen Qingyu. It makes a damn sense. The donkey tilted its head and looked at the remaining pile of cabbage in the yard, trying to lean towards it. "Ah, hungry. I dare to buy a foodie and come back." Shen Qingyu sneered. Xianggong's face turned black and he slapped the donkey's buttocks, saying, "What a shameful thing." The donkey was startled and jumped up, shouting, "Ah, hungry. Then continue to look at the cabbage. Shen Qingyu wants to help unload the goods, but Xianggong says it's not necessary. The tall and big man unloaded everything in just a few seconds. Cotton bodies, bedding, various seasonings, various meat, eggs, rice, noodles, bowls, chopsticks, children's traditional Chinese medicine. Xianggong suddenly remembered his 3 children and said, "Where are the children? You go quickly and boil some Chinese medicine, I'll go take a look." That's when I remembered. Cheap Dad is indeed slow to react. Shen Qingyu rolled his eyes and said, "They have already got rid of the fever. There is congee left in the kitchen. You can have some." Xiao Yun has opened the letter. Xianggong was stunned at the entrance of the seemingly ordinary vegetable lean meat congee. It tastes really good, and is no inferior to the private cooks of aristocratic families. In my impression, Shen Qingyu doesn't have such culinary skills either. Is it also a result of training over the past few years? The gaze of Xianggong's inquiry fell on Shen Qingyu, who was preparing medicine. I don't know if it's an illusion, but Shen Qingyu's face was still covered in red, swollen, and purulent pimples yesterday. Today, it has gone down a lot. Look. It's a little refreshing. Shen Qingyu sighed while taking medicine and said, "The 3 children deliberately got sick from freezing, just because they were afraid of us and being separated. In the future, don't mention the matter of being separated at home, so as not to make the children feel uneasy." Xianggong remembered the intensity of his 3 children and also felt a headache. "How did you take care of them? How did you bring them into this moral character? Are you still using such methods?" Shen Qingyu kept the firewood in his hand on the ground and said coldly, "What's wrong? I took 3 children from birth to the age of 6 with my own hands, but they didn't look like you wanted. I am unforgivable." Xianggong choked and said, "I didn't mean that either." "What do you mean by that? If the child's father teaches at home every day, what would be better for the child? But why is the child unlucky? Their dog-like father doesn't stay at home." When it comes to verbal criticism, Shen Qingyu never denies it. Xiao Yinqi began to regret. Arguing with a woman was indeed not enough. If you know your mistake, you can change it. Xiao Yinqi decisively admitted, it was me who thought the other way around. Humph. I haven't started using my skills yet. The enemy surrendered. By the time the child wakes up, it's already noon. Shen Qingyu served them traditional Chinese medicine to drink. The children's fever has subsided, their mental state has noticeably improved, and one by one, their eyes have started to purr. Shen Qingyu was afraid of these three things and said, "Don't be a demon, eat well, sleep well. We have our family's work, so take a day off today." "Mother, have you left without harmony?" De Bao still felt uneasy. "We're apart. Your father is ready to hire someone to repair the house, and he's going to stay at home for 100 years. Shen Qingyu pointed out of the window in frustration. Upon hearing this, the three children all stood up and looked outside the window. There are people unloading green bricks in the yard, looking at quite a few. They really need to repair the house. Where's Dad? De Bao didn't see Xiao Yinqi at a glance and felt anxious. Shen Qingyu was almost laughed at and said, "Don't worry, he didn't run. He went to the village to find someone to repair the house." Xiao Yinqi really went to find someone to repair the house. Not long after, the clan leader followed Xiao Yinqi over and after a round of gestures and guidance in the courtyard, promised to ask the village men to help build the house the next day. Green brick and large tiled houses, 3 rooms in one repair, who wouldn't be envious of them? The clan chief looked at Xiao Yinqi with a different expression and said, "Yinqi, what are you doing outside to make a living? You've earned a lot of money." Xiao Yinqi chuckled and said, "It's nothing, just helping people run errands." Clan chief. Triplets are all very happy. Not for the new house, only for the father not leaving. Xiao Yinqi told Shen Qingyu at the dinner table about tomorrow's arrangements. Those who come to help need to manage the food. Can you handle it? If you can't, please ask the people in the village to help. Shen Qingyu nodded and said, "Find someone to help wash and cut vegetables. I can't handle it alone." Triplets have a smile on their eyebrows and eyes. Just the triplets didn't know, but when they closed the door at night, Xiao Yinqi explained to Shen Qingyu, "No matter how long I stay at home, this house is repaired, and you can live in it in the future. We still have to leave now." Shen Qingyu sneered coldly, "Don't worry, I didn't misunderstand." Xiao Yinqi. The next morning, the yard became lively. The men who helped in the village have all come, and Lu Tsueshi, who helped wash vegetables, has also come. She is the daughter-in-law of the clan chief. Lu Tsueshi is a quick-witted person. While washing the cabbage, she asked Shen Qingyu, "Qingyu, what are we cooking today?" Shen Qingyu thought for a moment. "Braised pork belly in brown sauce." Upon hearing this, Lu Tsueshi's eyes lit up. She hadn't eaten meat for quite some time either. With a muffled sound, 3 or 4 pounds of pork belly were thrown into the basin, which made the villagers feel even more motivated to help. Ironhead brother is grand. Lu Tsueshi washes vegetables and cooks them, while Shen Qingyu cuts vegetables and stir-fry them. Seeing Shen Qingyu's flowing movements, Lu Tsueshi was already stunned. The smell of braised pork belly, potatoes and cabbage wafted out. The triplets were stuck at the kitchen door a few times, but after waiting for Shen Qingyu to greet them, they said, "De Bao, tell everyone to take a break and eat." "Okay." Triplets rushed out to invite everyone to eat. A spoonful of rotten potatoes, instant braised pork belly in brown sauce, and juicy rotten Chinese cabbage is placed on the big white rice. How appetizing! It makes people unable to resist swallowing saliva. Everyone was feasting on it. Lu Tsueshi was shocked to find that braised pork belly was not sweet and greasy. After a little brown sugar was added, the slightly sweet taste made the meat more fragrant. The soup and rice mixture made people unable to stop. "It's really delicious." Shen Qingyu is very good at cooking. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. I want to sell food. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6. I want to sell food. The men swept through the wind and clouds, nodding their heads in admiration while eating. This is too delicious. The village banquet has never tasted such delicious food before. As long as I have this soup, I can eat 2 more bowls of rice. The voices of the men's discussions fell into Xiao Yinqi's ears, and he lowered his eyes to eat, not knowing what he was thinking. As the sky grew late, the men and women left, and the house quieted down. Shen Qingyu didn't eat rice for dinner as usual, even pork belly, and only had a bowl of cabbage. Upon seeing this, Xiao Yinqi inexplicably gave her a slice of oily pork belly and said, "This is very fragrant, let's eat it." Without hesitation, Shen Qingyu handed it back to Xiao Yinqi and said, "I won't eat it. I want to lose weight." Xiao Yinqi looked at Shen Qingyu's big face plate and fat all over, and stopped talking. Not to mention it, in just 2 days, the acne on Shen Qingyu's face had actually subsided, the redness and swelling had disappeared, and the white pus spots were also reduced. In this way, the originally uneven skin looks much smoother, with clearer facial features and a hint of elegance. But still chubby. Xiao Yinqi lowered his head and cooked. Shen Qingyu waited until they were all asleep before tidying up the bedding and getting ready to sleep. Xiao Yinqi looked at Shen Qingyu, who was busy under the oil lamp, and took the initiative to explain, "I bought a few extra beds of bedding. You and I each have 1 bed." Shen Qingyu didn't lift her head and spoke calmly, "Okay." Xiao Yinqi, facing such a calm Shen Qingyu, didn't know what to say for a moment. After thinking for a moment, Xiao Yinqi said again, "Don't worry, even if we separate, I will settle down your life well." Shen Qingyu replied again, "Okay." Xiao Yinqi. The food you've cooked these past few days is very delicious. Thank you very much. Hey. Is there nothing to talk about? Shen Qingyu raised his head this time, and there seemed to be 2 bright spots in his eyes under the oil lamp. "It wasn't specially made for you. Even if it weren't for you, I would still cook every meal seriously for the children and myself in the future. You don't have to worry about me disagreeing or leaving. I am very grateful that you left these 3 children behind for me. I really like them. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't have them either. I won't be grateful to you for your duty as a father and your duty to build a big brick house and support them with silver." Xiao Yinqi. This statement is simply unheard of. After careful consideration, it is hard to refute. Where did she hear all this nonsense? Xiao Yinqi suddenly realized that he didn't know anything about this daughter-in-law. Shen Qingyu didn't give him time to figure it out and quickly walked to the next door. Not long after, Shen Qingyu picked up Sanbao and the blanket, and placed them in the bed. Before Xiao Yinqi could ask, Shen Qingyu took the initiative to explain, "He's already asleep. As long as you don't touch him, he won't wake up. From today on, you'll sleep with him." Xiao Yinqi. Good. When Shen Qingyu walked out of the room holding her bedding, she paused as if remembering something and said, "It's cold. You should cover him with some blanket at night." Xiao Yinqi. Okay. Faced with Shen Qingyu and his 3 children, Xiao Yinqi seems to only have the qualifications to be good. Shen Qingyu went to the next room and confirmed that the 2 daughters were asleep before entering the space. Still in that small valley, the door of the warehouse was open, and the previous warning sound sounded again. The material storage rate is 10%. Shen Qingyu lowered her head and looked at the bony grass at her feet, very surprised. "Last time I came in, there was only 1 tree, how long has it been?" Not only has the original one become much thicker, but there are also many small tender shoots growing at the roots. It seems that this space is very helpful for the growth of plants. After tidying up her mind, Shen Qingyu first went to the warehouse to find facial cleanser, cleaned her face thoroughly, and then used cell needles to clean the blackheads and acne on her face. She then washed her face with Lingquan water to prevent infection. Feeling the noticeably delicate and smooth touch on her face, Shen Qingyu breathed a slight sigh of relief. However, after 2 days of not having dinner, she felt that her waist had lost some weight and her stomach had also fallen a bit. But the clothes are spacious, I can't even tell. It's good if you can lose weight. There is a height and weight scale in the warehouse, and Shen Qingyu weighs 165 pounds. He is 1.65 meters tall. The road to slimming down is still a long and arduous one. For the next time, Shen Qingyu will be cooking every day. Cooking. Cooking. The rich and flavorful food is full, and the full men are full of energy. With the help of the village men, the 3 tiled houses were repaired quickly, but in just 10 days, they were completed. As a straight and sturdy beam was erected and a firecracker was set on fire, the small village instantly became lively. Up the beam. Li Zheng stretched out his voice and shouted, making everyone cheer. As if to echo Li Zheng's shout and everyone slaps, a few men standing on the beam grabbed the small glutinous rice cakes that were already prepared in the basket and began to throw them down like raindrops. Pick up the glutinous rice cake. Hurry up, hurry up. Throw a little bit towards me. Here. Dad. Here. This is a pure glutinous rice cake made of glutinous rice, with red words such as blessings, rewards, longevity, and happiness printed on it. In rural areas, people are reluctant to eat a sticky rice meal on weekdays, but now Xiao Yinqi's family can scatter it one by one. Xiao Yinqi has indeed earned money outside. When will it be better not to grab at this moment? The women and men below cheered when they found it, and the children were particularly excited, raising their hands and shouting. Shen Qingyu stood at the edge of the crowd, looking at the man with a black forehead on the beam and the familiar childish cheers from the crowd below, and couldn't help but smile on his face. Xiao Yinqi stood on the beam, gazing at the small mountains, and easily saw the smiling woman standing at the edge of the crowd. Shen Qingyu did not grab Liang Siba. In just about 10 days, Shen Qingyu lost a circle of weight. Her acne on her face had almost healed, and her contours were much clearer. Her complexion was rosy, her skin was delicate, and even her fur shone in the sunlight. Xiao Yinqi instantly felt that when she smiled, she was actually very beautiful. Shaking his head, Xiao Yinqi felt that he must be crazy. Once the beam is installed, it means that the main project of this large blue brick house is completed, and the rest is to lay tiles, make doors and windows, and make furniture. The villagers all came to eat shangliang rice today, and there were particularly many helpers. When bowls of delicious pickled Chinese cabbage stewed pork, braised pork belly in brown sauce and meat ball soup were sent to the table, everyone was attracted to drool. Even the village ladies who help with cooking are amazed. Li Zheng took the initiative and grabbed it with a chopstick, and the button meat was immediately cut off. It's too soft and rotten, hiss. Someone drooled as they watched. Li Zheng couldn't help but swallow his saliva and carefully put the cut button meat into his bowl, then lowered his head to taste it. Spicy pork is melted in the mouth. The sour taste of pickled Chinese cabbage neutralizes the greasy taste of fat meat. It is hot, sour, salty, and extremely tasty. Delicious. Li is biting his tongue. Everyone laughed at the sudden cover of their mouths from the inside, and they all started chopping their chopsticks. After taking a slice, Lu Zuishi poked Shen Qingyu's arm and said, "Qingyu, why are you so good at cooking? This braised pork is too delicious." No, the dishes these days are all delicious. Shen Qingyu pursed her lips and smiled, her eyes shining brightly. You know, with my skills, can I make money by making some food to sell in the town? This was a thought she had been thinking about for several days. May scheduled update. Tentatively scheduled for 12 noon, at 6 p.m. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Good fortune for marriage of sister. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 7. Good fortune for marriage of sister Xiaoyunqi. This dog man is unreliable. If he wants to live a good life, he can only rely on himself. Farming is not good, it's too tiring. I dug for half a day before, feeling extremely sore all over, and I never want to go again. Before his rebirth, Shen Qingyu was a military doctor, but his parents were both self-made businessmen. When Shen Qingyu was young, he also helped his parents with the dishes. Shen Qingyu chose to join the military after seeing his parents go low and start small in order to do business. Who knew that in ancient times, we still had to rely on doing business? Ah! Shen Suishi was stunned and turned to look at Xiaoyunqi at the main table. Brother Xiao agreed. Shen Qingyu looked at the triplets in the distance, who had eaten their fill and were playing, and spoke calmly. He hasn't been at home these years. I brought my 3 children alone, didn't I come over too? I'll go by myself. Shen Suishi exclaimed, if he doesn't agree, it's not good. It's really the man in the family. Shen Qingyu suddenly realized. This is a feudal society. Male supremacy. Shen Qingyu nodded and said, I'll just talk to him. Eating here was lively, but suddenly a young couple appeared outside the yard, dressed in bright red and willow green clothes. Someone saw it with sharp eyes and immediately called out, Qingyu, your sister and brother-in-law are here. Shen Qingyu looked up at the sound and was stunned. She's really a younger sister, Shen Qingyu. A delicate woman wearing a peach-red dress outside the door had peach-red silk flowers on her temples, a gold bracelet on her hand, and a face covered in powder. She drew her eyebrows and eyes, which was very eye-catching. The young man is wearing a green brocade robe, with oily hair and pink face. Which is very greasy. The crowd fell eerily silent for a moment, all looking toward Shen Qingyu. In front of everyone, Shen Qingyu sighed silently before standing up and welcoming him. Shen Qingyu smiled and said, Sister, you didn't inform me about the big beam on the house. If it weren't for what the servants in the mansion said, I wouldn't have known you had done such a big thing. Hey! When you speak, you just complain. The eyes of everyone looking at Shen Qingyu suddenly became strange. Shen Qingyu pursed her lips and smiled, remembering something before readily admitting her mistake. It's mine, isn't it? It was originally a man from my family who wanted to build a house on the spur of the moment. I've been very busy these days, so I didn't even bother to go to town to notify you. Are you here to help? Or are you here to eat on the beam? Why don't you eat first and stay behind to help me wash the dishes later? Give back the tables, chairs, and benches to everyone. Shen Qingyu was instantly choked and said, We all use servants to do our own work. Who would come to your house to do these rough things? Before Shen Qingyu could speak, someone at the banquet immediately answered, Where can the young lady do such a thing? She's here to drink, isn't she? As soon as she said these words, Shen Qingyu immediately showed a hint of pride on her face, reaching out and pursing the silk flower at her temples. Shen Qingyu had already walked up to Shen Qingyu and looked at the paper bag in her hand. Are you here to eat wine? Is this for me? What good thing? Upon hearing this, Shen Qingyu quickly handed over the paper bag in her hand and said, This is a medicine for regulating the body. Sister has been taking it all along, and I estimate that she has finished it. Now, hurry up and bring it over to her. Medicine. Everyone showed a strange expression. The eldest sister and brother-in-law had a new house on the beam, and as sisters, the gift was actually medicine. Isn't this a moldy head? Shen Qingyu chuckled lightly, then opened it and looked at the Chinese medicine that had been ground into powder inside. Upon smelling it, his face slightly changed. Hee hee. What kind of illness is this medicine for me, sister? Shen Qingyu chuckled and said, This is the medicine for regulating the spleen and stomach. Sister, have you forgotten? Sister has been taking this medicine for her spleen and stomach deficiency. I specifically asked the doctor to prepare the medicine for her. The price is not cheap. Shen Qingyu nodded and said, it's really bothering you. Why grind it into powder? I can't even recognize what kind of medicine it is. I'm not afraid that you'll have trouble boiling medicine, sister. I'll just have someone grind it into powder for you. Sister, just mix it with water and drink it. Not even the medicine residue will be left behind. As Shen Qingyu spoke, she suddenly noticed that all the acne on Shen Qingyu's face had healed, leaving only a small acne mark. Her skin was delicate and smooth, with a hint of pinkish tenderness, and she was stunned. Sister, are you still taking the medicine powder these days? Shen Qingyu smiled and spoke slightly higher, it's strange to say. Since I've been busy repairing houses, I've forgotten to take that medicine powder. Who knew that these days, I'm not so hungry anymore, and the pustules on my face have all healed, even my body has become much lighter. Shen Suishi nodded repeatedly at the back and said, I've lost weight. My chin has come out these days. The contours of the facial features are also clear, and it looks much more delicate. The greasy brother.in.law Qi Zhouhua, who had been silent all along, finally spoke up and said, Qingyu looks really much better. Shen Qingyu's gaze flashed over Qi Zhouhua's face and he chuckled lightly, my brother.in.law would rather call me big sister. After all, you have married my sister now. Shen Qingyu and Qi Zhouhua were both stunned when they said this. The expressions of everyone suddenly became exciting. Everyone remembered old things. Back then, Qi Han, the richest man in Hengshui town, was intercepted by bandits, and Shen Qingyu's father sacrificed his life to save him. So Qi Han took the initiative and arranged for the second son of the Qi family to marry the Shen family, appointing Shen Qingyu. Shen Qingyu's appearance was also excellent at first, and Qi Zhouhua liked it very much. At the age of 14 or 15, for some reason, Shen Qingyu suddenly began to look like a doe, not only gaining weight, but also having acne all over her face, completely disfigured. However, after 6 months, Shen Qingyu fell seriously ill and was bedridden. Shen Qingyu, who was only 1 year younger, went around looking for a doctor for her elder sister. In the end, she heard a godly saying that she wanted to get married and celebrate. Qi Zhouhua's 8 characters were not strong enough. Shen Qingyu asked the divine staff to help him find the iron-headed monster Xiao Yunqi, who had strong enough 8 characters. Once he became a relative, he could be overjoyed. It's also strange. Since Shen Qingyu recruited Xiao Yunqi, although he is still ugly and fat, his serious illness has gradually improved. Chongxi is really useful. Qi Zhouhua's engagement with the Shen family is still ongoing, so he took the opportunity to marry Shen Qingyu, who has a 5-point resemblance to Shen Qingyu in appearance. In order for her elder sister to get better, Shen Qingyu not only searched for doctors and medicine everywhere, but also married and replaced her. After marriage, Shen Qingyu continued to deliver medicine to Shen Qingyu. Such a good girl is also difficult to find in 8 villages and 10 miles away. Everyone said that Shen Qingyu was unlucky. Shen Qingyu was destined to become a young lady and live a good life. Only Shen Qingyu, who had just smelled the scent of the medicine powder, knew what the effect of this medicine powder was. The acne on my face and the fat all over my body are thanks to this medicinal powder. Shen Qingyu only felt a burning fire in his heart, burning stronger and stronger. You are really my good sister. However, it is not too late for a gentleman to seek revenge. Shen Qingyu suppressed her anger and chuckled lightly. The girl and her husband came to my house to deliver medicine on the day they were taking the beam at home. It was really well intentioned. Come in and sit down and have a meal. Eating here. Shen Qingyu glanced at the bustling villagers inside, patched with linen clothes, pale and skinny with a strong smell, and immediately retreated. No, we're coming from town and we have to hurry home. If we have something to do, we won't eat. Let's go first. Upon Shen Qingyu's words, Qi Zhouhua immediately nodded and said, yes, yes. He doesn't want to have dinner with these muddy legs at the same table. End of this chapter. Chapter 8. The Secret of Medicinal Powder. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 8. The Secret of Medicinal Powder. So the girl came specifically to deliver medicine to me. Thank you so much. Shen Qingyu didn't force her to stay, so she sent Shen Qingyu and Qi Zhouhua out and politely escorted them onto the parked carriage at the village entrance before turning around. The villagers nodded as they watched, saying, although these two sisters have different lives, they are still relatively harmonious. Turning around from the village entrance, Shen Qingyu didn't forget to greet everyone who was eating enthusiastically. Everyone has good food and drink, please forgive any carelessness. Oh. Even Qingyu can speak grandiose words. They sound like the shopkeeper of Yuebin building. Ha ha ha. That's right. In the past, Shen Qingyu would argue in just 3 sentences. Where did he say anything nice? Everyone once again refreshed their impression of Shen Qingyu. Shen Qingyu listened to the discussion in his ear, with a smile on his face, but his eyes found the target and walked towards the main table. Today at the main table of the Upper Liang, the elders of the clan, Li Zheng, and others were sitting, and Xiao Yunqi, as the host, also accompanied them. Yunqi, this is the medicine my sister gave me. Shen Qingyu just picked up the medicine bag in his hand and was about to hand it to Xiao Yunqi, when the medicine bag suddenly fell from Shen Qingyu's hand to the ground. Puff. With a soft sound, the paper packet shattered and the powder instantly dispersed, emitting a burst of smoke. Everyone was stunned for a moment. Why are you so careless? Xiao Yunqi frowned. Fortunately, the medicine powder was not sprinkled on the food, otherwise would everyone eat it or not? Shen Qingyu also looked shocked and distressed. Oh, this is the medicine my sister sent me. It's so expensive. This. It's okay, your sister has a good heart. Just ask her to rematch you, Li Zheng comforted. Shen Qingyu shook his head firmly and said, my sister doesn't owe me anything. How could she keep asking her to dispense medicine for me? Shen Qingyu's gaze fell on the 2 middle-aged men in long clothes sitting on the main table. Uncle Shen, and Uncle Shen, they are also doctors. Can you help me see if we can recognize what kind of medicine they are? Let's pay for it ourselves and get it reissued. Yes, Uncle Shen Air and Uncle Shen Wu just came back to visit Uncle Shen in Go Home these days. They are very skilled in medicine, but they treat people in the capital. Just ask them to match you again. Others all agreed. They are all from the same clan. Upon hearing this, Uncle Shen and Uncle Shen couldn't refuse, so they all stood up to take a look. Although the medicine has been ground into powder, it is not complicated to distinguish the types of common medicinal herbs, and one can still smell and taste them. The 2 doctors each picked up a little powder and sniffed it under their noses. After a moment, they both looked at each other in surprise and then at Shen Qingyu. Shen Ershu was still a bit incredulous, carefully dipping some powder into his fingertips and tasting it on his tongue, then spat it out with a pussy. Shen Wushu also tasted the gourd like this, and the 2 of them looked at each other again with a serious expression. The crowd was startled by the expressions of the 2 doctors, and they all felt that things seemed a bit complicated. Their voices also quieted down, and they stared at this place with bated breath and concentration. Uncle Shen nodded, put down the powder, and asked Shen Qingyu, have you been taking this medicinal powder before? Shen Qingyu nodded and looked inexplicably proud. Yes, my sister found a doctor to match me and said it's for regulating the spleen and stomach. Uncle Shen frowned and asked, are you drinking it fried or something? Rinse the water and drink it with the powder. Shen Qingyu said, gesturing to the villagers sitting by the yard. They all heard it just now, they just mixed it with water to drink. The villagers by the courtyard wall nodded at the sound, indicating that it was indeed the case. Upon hearing this, Uncle Shen and Uncle Shen fell silent. The people on the main table are all old and mature, and when they see this, they all look nervous. Xiao Yunqi pondered and said, Uncle Heir, is this medicine somewhere inappropriate? Uncle Shen hesitated for a moment before blurring, since this medicine has been sprinkled, why don't you stop taking it? Shen Qingyu raised the broken medicine bag he had picked up and looked puzzled, is there still half a bag left? It can still be eaten. Shen Wushu had a straightforward temperament and frowned, saying, my second brother told you not to eat it for your own good. Why are you still so stubborn? This is medicine, which is 3 parts poisonous. If you don't understand, you should listen to advice. Everyone belongs to the same clan, and I can still harm you. This statement is almost straightforward. Everyone was shocked. What does it mean? Is this medicine toxic? This was given by Shen Qingyu. Shen Qingyu seemed to be startled and hesitated, unable to believe it. Uncle Wu, I've been taking this medicine since I was 15 or 16 years old, and it's been 7 years. I stopped taking it for a while when I was pregnant. I took it all at once. So much. As she gestured for a spoonful-sized amount, Shen Qingyu expressed disbelief and said, if it were poisonous, wouldn't I have died long ago? I've been too busy repairing my house for the past 10 days and forgot to take my medicine. Lu Tsueishi next to her suddenly reacted and said, didn't you also say before that you lost a lot of weight in the past 10 days without taking medicine? Even this pustule on your face is almost completely healed. Everyone was shocked again. Aunt Xiao, who lives next door to Shen Qingyu's house, suddenly said, Qingyu, I remember you started to feel like a dough ball after taking this medicine. You can eat it day by day, and you have more pus every day, right? The people in the village who had been around for a long time were all lost in memories, and then they saw 3 or 2 people nodding, yes, yes. They started gaining weight 7 years ago. 7 years ago, Qingyu was still a flower in our village. At that time, that face, that appearance. TSK. Someone said, feeling both regret and longing. However, Shen Ershu extracted key information from it and looked at Shen Qingyu suspiciously, are you saying that you only lost so much weight in these 10 days without taking medicine? And the pus on your face has also improved. It's impossible. If you take this medicine for a long time, there will be residual medicinal properties, and it may even make you increasingly obese and prone to acne, and you will never be able to return to your previous physique. They have all seen Shen Qingyu's chubby and acne-prone appearance, and she has indeed improved a lot now. How could she recover so much in just 10 days? Upon being reminded, Uncle Shen became suspicious and said, have you eaten something different in the past 10 days or so? Shen Qingyu shrugged in confusion and turned to look at Lu Tsueishi, no. I've been eating the same food as them these days, haven't I? Shen Tsueishi quickly nodded and said, right. We've been together all day, eating together, and we haven't really eaten anything strange. Uncle Shen and Uncle Shen looked at each other in confusion and said, this shouldn't be. A meal at Xianggong ended with various expressions on everyone's faces. Although Shen Qingyu expressed his belief that Shen Qingyu's medicine was fine, the village was so big that rumors still quietly spread. Shen Qingyu was drugged by Shen Qingyu to become obese and covered in pus, in order to steal Shen Qingyu's good marriage. Only Shen Qingyu, a foolish woman, was snatched away from the town's richest son's good marriage, and an ugly man with a dark forehead was arranged to come and invite trouble. She was also determined to trust Shen Qingyu. She deserves to live a difficult life. End of this chapter. Chapter 9. Cousin. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Cousin. This person is also strange. The more Shen Qingyu expressed her trust in Shen Qingyu, the more the village women felt suspicious. So they secretly reviewed the beauty of Shen Qingyu in the past, and then compared it to the current fat and acne-prone situation. After repeated discussions and contemplation, the women were convinced that it must have been Shen Qingyu who did the trick. Only the fool Shen Qingyu said he believed in Shen Qingyu. What a fool! What a pity! Silly and pitiful Shen Qingyu felt happy. In this way, she slowly lost weight and no one would be surprised. Before going to bed, Xianggong suddenly stopped Shen Qingyu and said, "Don't take that medicine." Shen Qingyu was taken aback for a moment, carefully observing Xianggong's expression and realizing that he was serious. He became curious and said, "Are you afraid that if I die, the children will lose their mothers?" Xianggong lowered his eyes and avoided her gaze, saying, "What nonsense. You are their mother, and I don't want you to have any problems." Shen Qingyu laughed and said, "Don't worry, I can't die. I've been taking it for 7 years and haven't died, which proves that this medicine doesn't matter." Xianggong thought she still believed in Shen Qingyu and couldn't help but blush. "What's wrong? Do you think I'm meddling? Ha! Why is this person still angry?" Shen Qingyu restrained his thoughts and teased him seriously, saying, "Don't worry, I won't take that medicine anymore. Since God wants me to come back to life, I will get better and better, really." Xianggong was stunned. It's really true that after failing to hang herself that day, she felt like a different person. She has lost a lot of weight and the pus on her face has also improved a lot. She no longer gets angry frequently and cooks exceptionally well. After stepping out of the door, Shen Qingyu suddenly turned back and said, "When you go to town tomorrow, take me with you and I'll go see the town. By the way, he'll leave. That's it. The house has been repaired, and if she wants to leave, let's leave." As soon as it was dawn in the morning, there was noise coming from the yard, and Xianggong woke up. Shen Qingyu quickly got up as well. Bao was awakened and saw Shen Qingyu dressed neatly. He immediately woke up and said, "Mom, what are you doing up so early?" Shen Qingyu explained, "Your father and I will go shopping in town later, and you and your sister and brother will be waiting at home. I will be back soon." "I'm going too," Bao said as he started getting dressed. "Mother, I'll go too." Bao also woke up. Shen Qingyu paused and said, "How can we proceed? If they go, how can they still leave? How can that work? We still have to buy a lot of things today, and we can't spare any time to grab you. What if the flower picker takes you away?" Shen Qingyu said whatever it was, but he didn't agree to take the children with him. Bao's expression had completely awakened and he said, "Mom, are you going to separate from my father?" Shen Qingyu's heart skipped a beat. Why are children so sensible? Isn't it better to be a little simpler? "No, no. We'll be back later." Xiao Bao, who was next to him in the conversation room, also woke up. He rubbed his eyes and stood at the door. "I'll go too." "No way." Shen Qingyu put in a lot of effort, finally calmed down the children, made breakfast for them, promised 3 strings of sugar figurines, and then went to town with Xianggong. The donkey cart has been set up. Shen Qingyu boarded the cart, and Xianggong drove towards the town. The weather in early spring is still very cold, and the hues are all white. Shen Qingyu wrapped himself into zongzi and huddled in a donkey cart. Xianggong, who was driving, had a straight back and a dignified demeanor. The mountain road was quiet, and the two of them remained silent, only hearing the sound of donkey hooves hitting the ground. Thinking of Shen Qingyu saying he wanted to go and leave, Xianggong felt inexplicably frustrated, so he swung his whip and slapped it loudly. The donkey was startled and let out 2 cries of, "Hungry, hungry." Shen Qingyu was also startled and said, "What are you doing?" Xianggong asked, "Did you mean to go and leave today?" Shen Qingyu nodded and said, "Yes, what's wrong? You don't want to leave?" Xianggong looked like a cat with its tail stepped on and almost exploded, saying, "Who said I don't want to? That's it." Shen Qingyu continued to curl up and curl up. "I'll go to the town later. First, I'll go to the town office, and after finishing the procedures, I'll go shopping." "Oh." Xianggong agreed in a muffled voice. The two of them were speechless again. Entering the town, the sound of donkey hooves pounding on the bluestone road made a clattering sound. It was only then that Shen Qingyu fully regained consciousness and looked around with his head. Because I left early, I arrived in town and it happened to be breakfast time. A few rice noodles stalls along the road are steaming hot and popular. Xianggong stopped his donkey cart beside a rice noodle stall and said, "Boss, 2 bowls of flour." Okay. Not long after, 2 bowls of rice noodles with red oil and minced meat and soybeans were served, smelling delicious. Shen Qingyu took a sip and found that the oil was too strong, but the taste was still good. Xianggong ate quickly, but his movements were not rude. After finishing, he looked at Shen Qingyu and found that there was still more than half left in the bowl. Not delicious. Xianggong frowned slightly. That's right. Shen Qingyu glanced at the boss's direction and said, "It's okay." The old man in his 50s sitting beside him was very happy when he heard this. "Little lady, this is the best rice noodles with red oil in the town. Do you still think it is not delicious? What do you want to eat?" Shen Qingyu chuckled and said, it's not that it's not bad, it's because I've been too fat lately and I want to lose weight." Upon hearing this, the old man became happy again and said, "It's great to be chubby. The old lady wants to marry someone who is chubby. She's lucky to be chubby. Little brother, do you think so?" The old man asked Xianggong. Xianggong was stopped and could only nod dryly, Shen Qingyu was almost choked. "Grandpa, I'm going to divorce his chubby wife." "You asked the wrong person. Judging from the best rice noodles, the catering level in the town is very average." In the end, Shen Qingyu didn't finish either, and half of the bowl was left and was directly thrown into Xianggong's mouth. Shen Qingyu looked dumbfounded. He. Surprisingly. "Eat my leftover rice noodles." Xianggong put down his bowl with a calm expression and said, "Food is precious and cannot be wasted." Shen Qingyu. Okay, skip it. Let's go to the town office." Shen Qingyu stood up and left. Xianggong stood up calmly and said, "I won't go to the town office for now. I'll go do something, you go choose something, and later I'll go to the grain and oil shop to find you." After speaking, before Shen Qingyu could say anything, Xianggong hurriedly left with the donkey cart. Shen Qingyu. How many meanings do you mean? Seeing Xianggong walking away, Shen Qingyu turned around and began to stroll around the town. Today's gathering is the busiest. The villagers who came to the market nearby gradually entered the city and set up stalls on the roadside, which quickly became bustling. Looking around, Shen Qingyu bought a lot of food. After tasting it, she also had a plan in her heart and bought some raw materials before carrying the little sugar man to the grain and oil shop to wait for Xianggong. Unexpectedly, I waited for almost an hour. "This bastard, don't you sneak away again, right? I haven't left yet." When Shen Qingyu was whispering, Xianggong came, and there was a man wrapped like Zongzi on the donkey cart. Shen Qingyu paused for a moment and said, "What is this?" "My cousin, Wen-che," Xianggong explained and began to ask the grain and oil shop to load things onto the car. Shen Qingyu looked at the man with a wrapped face and hesitated whether to say hello. The man with his eyes exposed, Wen-che, took the initiative to say hello and spoke in a warm voice, "Hello, sister.in.law." Shen Qingyu met those eyes and suddenly froze. These eyes are smiling, bent into the shape of crescents. How beautiful. Seeking a wave of collection recommendations. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. Can glutinous rice and vegetable roll be sold? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 10. Can glutinous rice and vegetable roll be sold? Despite Xianggong's usual cold and solemn demeanor, always with a paralyzed face, Shen Qingyu still felt that Xianggong's emotions were very bad. Seems very oppressive and also very angry. Xianggong remained calm and went around buying a lot of things like a top, and even bought a few extra beds of bedding. "Is this for my cousin Wen-che?" Xiao Yinqi finished shopping and drove the donkey cart towards the village. Shen Qingyu couldn't help but remind, let's go to the town office first. It's not convenient today, Xiao Yinqi refused directly. Shen Qingyu sneered and said, we agreed to go and leave. Wen Che was stunned and asked Xiao Yinqi, cousin, you got married. When did it happen? Xiao Yinqi remained silent +2. Hey! Shen Qingyu understood. He dares to marry himself, his family doesn't even know. Shen Qingyu directly revealed, we have been married for 7 years, and our children are already 6 years old. Wen Che was once again shocked and said, the child is already 6 years old. Does uncle know? Xiao Yinqi. Silence +3. Wen Che then understood. Xiao Yinqi's family had no idea at all. Speaking of which, if Xiao Yinqi gets married, he can't possibly not know. It turned out to be a hidden marriage. Shen Qingyu sneered again, so my father is still here, and I have never heard my grandfather mention it before. I even thought my grandfather was an orphan. That's what I said. Wen Che. Xiao Yinqi was afraid that Shen Qingyu might say something completely wrong, so he could only calmly answer, the situation at home is complicated, so it's not easy to tell you. You can endure the matter of Healy for a while. I can't hold you accountable. Shen Qingyu. Amazing. This man voluntarily softened. Apologize still. For the first time. As Wen Che looked over curiously, Shen Qingyu remained silent. She never admits that she saw it for the sake of those smiling eyes. When the donkey cart returned home, it happened to be noon. As soon as the 3 children saw the donkey cart coming back, they ran over one by one and shouted, Dad! Mom! After grabbing onto Xiao Yinqi's collar tightly, Bao cried wrongly, Dad, I thought you weren't coming back. Xiao Bao patted his chest, feeling both scared and grateful, saying, I knew Dad wouldn't want us. Bao stared at Xiao Yinqi several times before finally turning to Wen Che and saying, Who are you? You're not from our village. Wen Che looked at the 3 little puddings in shock and hesitated, Cousin, you already have 3 children. Triplets. At first glance, it looks like triplets. My cousin is mighty. Xiao Yinqi was also embarrassed. Come in and say. The 2 of them entered the room muttering and locked the 3 children and Shen Qingyu outside. The 3 children finally gathered around Shen Qingyu, took the 3 little sugar figures, and chattered, Mom, who is that person? What is he doing at our house? Shen Qingyu called the 3 children into the kitchen and asked them to sit in rows to keep warm, cook for themselves without stopping, explaining in their mouths. That's your father's cousin, just call him Uncle. 2 pots were heated at the same time, and Shen Qingyu washed and steamed the glutinous rice. Put oil in another pot and stir-fry the vegetables. Chop the sour cabbage from the jar, stir-fry until dry, and then add oil and salt to stir-fry until fragrant. Chop 1 pound of meat into small pieces, stir-fry until dry and fragrant, and finally add water to boil for a while before harvesting into a thick soup. Add chopped chili peppers and stir-fry over low heat in wide oil until dry and fragrant, cough cough. The children were choked and ran out of the kitchen one after another, while Xiao Yinqi and Wen Che were also choked out of the room by the chili. What are you stir-frying? It chokes me to death, Xiao Yinqi shouted in the yard. Shen Qingyu also felt uncomfortable, tears streaming down her cheeks and saying, Don't worry. Cough, cough, cough. After finally frying the chili peppers, Shen Qingyu fried the noodles made of flour and eggs into crispy pieces. Half an hour passed, and the kitchen finally calmed down. Shen Qingyu brought glutinous rice and a few bowls of vegetables to the hall, while Xiao Yinqi and Wen Che, along with their 3 children, were dumbfounded when they saw what was being served. Crispy noodles, stir-fried minced meat, and sautéed sour cabbage are not enough. What's wrong with a big bowl of red chili oil? Is one of the dishes for lunch chili oil? Mom, how do you eat this chili? De Bao asked without understanding. I'll know in a moment. You guys go wash your hands first. The three children came back from washing their hands. Before they sat down, Shen Qingyu gave them a rice and vegetable roll each. The three children were all dumbfounded. Is this glutinous rice and vegetable roll? Squeeze and eat with your hands. The three children looked at their father and freshly baked uncle. The two old men were also holding a rice and vegetable roll together, and their faces were hit by thunder. Shen Qingyu also held a rice and vegetable roll in his hand. What are you looking at? Try it. How does it taste? After speaking, Shen Qingyu took the first bite. The glutinous rice dumpling is divided into 2 layers, with sautéed sour cabbage foam, shredded meat foam, palm-sized fried crisps in the middle. An extra spoonful of pepper oil is added to the adult rice and vegetable roll. In one bite, the aroma of glutinous rice, meat, chili oil, and the crispy crisps are combined, rich in flavor and distinct in taste hierarchy. Just as delicious as the glutinous rice bought on the street in my past life. Shen Qingyu squinted her eyes with satisfaction and said, "It's delicious." Xiao Yinqi took a bite with a dark face. The next second, Xiao Yinqi unexpectedly discovered that it was quite delicious. At this point, Wen Che had already removed his hat and scarf from his head, revealing a warm and delicate facial feature that looked very comfortable. He also took a sip, chewed it carefully, and praised, "The taste is very good." 3 treasures were also quickly eaten. It's so 7. Sanbao nodded while eating, and even took some time to smile at Shen Qingyu. After everyone finished eating one, Shen Qingyu asked everyone, "Who else wants to eat? I'll make it for you again." A glutinous rice and vegetable roll is about the size of a bowl of rice. The 3 children shake their heads one after another. I'm full. Don't go. Instead, Wen Che took the initiative to say, "I still need one more." Shen Qingyu made one for Wen Che and then looked at Xiao Yinqi. Xiao Yinqi nodded and said, "Another one." Xiao Yinqi ate 2 more, and everyone said they were full. Shen Qingyu then said seriously, "If I go to town to sell this glutinous rice and vegetable roll, can I sell it?" The whole family froze and looked at each other before staring at Shen Qingyu. "You are going to sell this glutinous rice and vegetable roll?" Xiao Yinqi also looked serious. Wen Chu was stunned. Cousin's wife, selling glutinous rice and vegetable roll. She actually wants to do such a small business. She doesn't know how rich her cousin is. Seeing Shen Qingyu nod, Xiao Yinqi frowned slightly and said, "Just take care of 3 children at home. You don't have to worry about money." When it came to this, Shen Qingyu felt aggrieved and said, "In the past 7 years, if you hadn't planted that little land with the silver money you gave us, we would have starved to death long ago." Wen Che's pupils earthquake again. This Xiao Yinqi coughed awkwardly and said, "At that time, I didn't know how much silver it would cost to raise a child." The key is to be too cautious of Shen Qingyu, not daring to let her know that she has money. Shen Qingyu rolled his eyes in the sky. "I can fuck you. Sorry for the late update. Yesterday, my neighbor from the neighboring building fell off the roof, about 20 floors away from my bedroom window, less than 100 meters away. I was stimulated and my state did not adjust for a while. If a person is not even afraid of death, there is nothing to be afraid of. Everyone cherish themselves and live a good life. Love you all." End of this chapter.